There is a big question surrounding Matthew Tkachuk this offseason that has dire implications on whether or not the team should make a move now or should they wait to free up cap space. From an injury he sustained in the Four Nations Cup, will he have surgery or not? And will it affect keeping or losing Evan Rodrigues? Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Panthers Digest. I'm your host, Greg Andrews. Hit that subscribe button down below because you guys need to stay up to date with anything and everything that has to do with your back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. As I've said it 100 times before, Evan Rodrigues just so happens to have a contract that is $3 million per year AAV, and the Florida Panthers right now are just underneath $3 million being over the cap limit. But GM Bill Zito hasn't made any moves yet because he's waiting to see if Matthew Tkachuk will or won't have surgery this offseason. Either way, he's going to have to rehab his injuries and see what happens. But I'm glad GM Bill Zito hasn't pulled the trigger yet, because if we can keep Evan Rodrigues, better to do that than to lose him now. Anyways, guys, this was Matthew Tkachuk about a week after they won the Stanley Cup, give or take, in June, talking about the injuries that he had sustained during the Four Nations Cup, his battle with them, and what he's planning on doing, possibly, moving forward and where he was at the time. Right now, everything's still very hush-hush, but this is Matthew Tkachuk in mid to end June after he won the Stanley Cup.
I don't know yet if it will be. I'm going to take, I've got to go through some steps here and then see if I need surgery or not. It's going to take a few weeks to determine if I need it. It's probably 50-50 right now. So I'm not just going to jump right into surgery without talking to everybody and going through everything. I mean, I have a few weeks here where I can figure it out.
So Matthew Tkachuk had two different injuries that he was battling for the last portion. I mean, he didn't even play because he missed 25 games, but he was battling, he was rehabbing, he was doing whatever he could to try to get back to the ice, and he did for game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and he definitely was not 100%. He said it was a 50-50 shot that he was going to play at that point. He decided to give it a go. Good thing he did. He still performed incredibly well with 8 goals and 15 assists in all of the playoffs. And the incredible part was he had 5 power play goals and he had 6 power play assists. So definitely showed up in the playoffs, still made a huge contribution, kind of playing on one leg if you really want to think about it, because what we're going to get into right now is his injuries. What are they and how bad were they in his body, and what does he need to do to get it repaired? How long is the recovery time? How is this going to affect the team? How is it going to affect Evan Rodrigues? There's so much stuff that we need to get to right now. I'm going to try not to make this too long, and guys, don't worry. There's not going to be any crazy videos about surgeries or anything like that to gross you out. No. There'll be some anatomical things that I will show you just to show you exactly where this injury occurred on him. I am not a doctor. Obviously, I'm not. I've been a personal trainer for the last 15 years, so I'm very, very well aware of the human body, the connective tissues, the different areas, the muscle movers, things like that. And the one thing that I can tell you is the adductor muscle that literally is your groin, if you really want to think of it, to just layman's terms, you guys, is it attaches into your groin. And when he says it was torn off the bone, it wasn't really the muscle that tore away from the bone, it's the tendon. And attaches into the groin, like I said. And the sports hernia that he has, which is called an athletic pubalgia, that's pretty much what he has. It's not an actual hernia per se, if you think about, the muscle in your abdomen separating or tearing, and some of your intestine kind of pokes through it, and people have that bulge kind of near like their belly button. It's not like that. This is very different. This is different, and that's what we're going to get into right now, so you guys can understand what is going on with him, and is there the possibility that he goes on LTIR. But first, really quick, like I said, Evan Rodrigues' contract, his AAV is $3 million a year. The cap right now for the Panthers is almost at $3 million over. Bill Zito's not pulling the trigger yet because he's waiting to hear what Matthew Tkachuk is going to do. He's waiting to hear what the doctors for the team are going to tell him to do. I'm curious to see What are the team doctors going to tell him to do? How many specialists has he seen? Is he really like, if it was torn off the bone and is no longer attached, because it is a major mover. The adductor muscle when you are playing hockey is such an important muscle when it comes to movement. I can only imagine the amount of pain that he was in when he was playing and some of the things that he was unable to do because of the pain and because that muscle is no longer attached, or maybe it was barely attached there. I've had a ruptured Achilles before and had surgery on it, and believe me, that thing just had a thread stuck together, but it was pretty much 99% of the way torn. So I can tell you from my experience, if that thing is torn, the muscle can't do anything. Okay? Because muscle goes to these fibers and then it goes to an end that turns into a tendon. So like I said, I was a personal trainer for 15 years. I'm very well aware of the human body and the muscles and things like that. So this is what a sports hernia, where it can occur in the body. And the reason why I circled this is because this affects the adductor muscle because they attach pretty much into the same area. That's what it says. The tendons attach your thigh muscles to your pubic bone. That's part of your pelvis. And it's not fun when those things get torn. And that's essentially what had happened to him. And because of that, he ended up tearing his adductor completely off the bone. I'm sure there was a tear there originally, and he kept playing on it. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. Or it could have just come off all at one time. And this is what we're looking at today. So, anyways, for a sports hernia or an athletic pubalia, it's a 6 to 12 week recovery period in total. 1 to 2 weeks of rest initially, and then a 4 to 6 week period of physical therapy. So, what people need to understand is if he has to have one surgery and then have another, or can they tackle them both at the same time, he might be out for a pretty prolonged period. It's not just going to be, like I said, that month and a half to 3 month period. It could be longer because I'm about to tell you the flip side to this is if he just has this surgery and they do a minor repair, and let's say it's laparoscopic, that means smaller incisions are made. They insert a camera, and then in the other small incision or two that they have, they put in the instruments to help fix the tendons and the muscles and all that stuff for the sports hernia. So it's not as invasive. However, they could do an open surgery where they will open him up more and obviously more invasive, and he's going to have a longer recovery time. But this is the one that is big. Again, I'm not going to show you anything that's grotesque, no videos, no nasty pictures or anything, but this is the athletic pubalia. You could see right where that circle is, the adductor longus, that muscle right there is the one that he tore. And that attaches, like they said, right into the pubic bone. And with multiple tears, if they have to go in there and perform serious surgery to reattach that muscle back to that area, it is not a laughing matter. This is what it's called: adductor longus tendon avulsion. That is what the surgery would be. It'd be a distal adductor longus avulsion. That's the type of surgery that he would have. Ideally, what they do is they would make a 5 centimeter incision in his groin. They would have to open him up, and they would actually literally have to go through the different areas in the muscles, find that specific adductor muscle. And there's a lot of other things. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to make you guys super sick from hearing this, but ideally what they would have to do is they'd have to open them up. They'd have to move all the important things like the arteries, and I don't want to get into it too much, but again, he'd have open surgery to repair this tear. It's a serious procedure, and the more serious thing is how long it could possibly take him to recover and get back to playing hockey. Now, I know hockey players are tough guys. The toughest athletes, I think, on the planet. They play through anything and everything. I mean, look what Matthew Tkachuk did this year. Missed 25 games, came back to the playoffs, helped his team win their second Stanley Cup. So this is pretty much what would happen if he did end up having this distal adductor longus avulsion. Phase 1, non-weight bearing activities for 6 weeks. The brace that he would have on his leg would be taken off after 4 weeks, and he'd have therapy after the first 2 weeks. after the surgery. Obviously, that's be post-op therapy 2 weeks after. Phase number 2 is a 6-week period. He can get returned back to full motion and closed chain strengthening. And it's not going to be easy. I've done things with my Achilles, and I'm sure that adductor healing and building that strength again is incredibly painful. It's painstaking work. For me, it's the mental hurdles that you have to overcome to get to the next step. No pun intended. For me and my Achilles, the scariest thing was not actually trying to get the work done. It was getting my brain to understand that I could put the weight back on the foot. Even though my instincts were telling me not to do it because it felt like I was going to tear my Achilles again. And he will go through the same thing. It's a different area of the body, I understand. But because in hockey, like I said, that's such a major muscle that is being used when he is skating, when he is moving, when he's making these cuts, whenever he's stopping, doing any of that stuff. It's going to be that more of that mental hurdle he's going to have to overcome, and it's scary. Then he's going to go to phase number 3, which is 4 weeks. That is strength and endurance. That's when he's going to ratchet things up. That's when he's going to start doing more of the weight-bearing exercises, things like that. Maybe some adductor exercises, some other movement-based exercises. Then phase 4, 8 weeks. Running progressions. Returning to his sport between 5 to 6 months. And he could start skating, doing things like that in that 5th to 6th month. And after 6 months, then he could fully return to normal hockey operations and playing the sport again. But he obviously needs to make sure that his doctor gives him clearance. So this is ideally what it looks like inside the human body. You could see there. It's torn right there. Right in the middle. That's where they literally have to attach it. I know everybody kind of grimaces there. Ooh, yeah, it's right in the oh. But that's ideally where they're going to have to go in is right there in the groin, not exactly there. And they have to find out where did the tear occur? Is it directly on the bone? Again, imaging can only do so much. Once you're opened up and you get inside, there is a different story that can be told. Because an MRI doesn't give you the whole story. Believe me, I know. I've had more surgeries than I can tell you in terms of sports injuries and things like that. But what he has been going through, it's truly amazing that he pushed himself through the rest of the season and the playoffs. And this is what he had to say about those people helping him get through that hard time, through the pain. He wanted to throw in the towel a bunch of times, and he has to thank a lot of people for getting him healthy enough. And he's sure he wasn't the easiest person to deal with. His fiance did a great job with the house on days when he probably wasn't in the best mood. Coming to the rink, maybe not in the best mood. The trainers, the pain, the doctors. He owes everybody so much. I mean, the man is a very humble person, very respectful. He plays hard. I know some of you out there hate his guts just because of the way he plays, that physical style of hockey, that get in your face and get that psychological game going on. Much like Brad Marchand, that's why everybody hates the fact that they're on the same team together as well as Bennett. But he's a great person off the ice, just like Paul Maurice has said. Now, the biggest question, again, he said, everything is 50-50 right now. Now that we are in July, what is he going to end up doing? Is he getting any closer to a decision? Because this is the biggest thing. If he has surgery, he will go on LTIR, which will free up the $9.5 million in cap space. They could keep Evan Rodriguez. They can get another player to technically take his position. I don't know if there's any quality free agents still out there right now, but there is the potential for that to happen. Pick up another solid player. Yeah, you might have to get some older player who has a ton of experience, but I don't know. I don't know who it could be. I don't know what the Panthers are going to think, but right now, it seems to me like Bill Zito is kind of waiting on the answer from Matthew Tkachuk in his camp. What is he going to end up doing? We will see. We will see. But yeah, it's a scary time right now to be a Panthers fan if you're thinking about that, because you want to know if Matthew Tkachuk's going to be healthy for the season, because if he has the surgery, he will be out for anywhere from about 4 to 6 months. But anyways, guys, Hopefully Evan Rodriguez stays. Hopefully, Matthew Tkachuk will be fine. Maybe he will have surgery and he recovers faster. I mean, we don't know. This has all been very, very hush hush right now on Matthew Tkachuk's health, but we will find out, guys. Again, thank you for joining me on this episode of Panthers Digest. Don't forget to subscribe down below. All of you who have subscribed, thank you so much for your support. I do appreciate it. And I will see you on the next episode of Panthers Digest. Again, thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe. Go Panthers.